just to say that our speaker this morning is Deputy Head Boy Nathan Mystery, and I'll pass over now to Nathan.
Hello. Hello. Okay. Morning, boys. Morning, staff. If you've not already noticed, I'm brown. And as many of you know, with being brown, you get all of the usual stereotypes, like curry every day, having a million weirdo relatives, and traditional values that kind of hang over your neck. The most traditional man I know is my granddad. My fellow Browns out there will know that we should really call our granddad something along the lines of Bapa because it's, respectful in our culture. However, I did say should because I call my granddad Big Baps. Not because I don't respect him, but because I kind of do respect him, because he is the big man of the family, the big man that has to make all of the decisions, the big man that has all of the responsibility, but most importantly, he is the big man that nobody is allowed to mess with. So, naturally, I mess with him. It's a really good story I'd like to tell you guys about Big Baps, which he'd probably kill me for because it's so embarrassing, but here we go anyway. When I was about 6 years old, the big man and I used to be quite the avid gardeners. We used to plant chilies, tomatoes, and pink roses because we were really masculine men. The general routine would be he would water the plants and I'd just stand there contemplating how gorgeous this old man was. Occasionally, I would sing to the flowers because my grandma told me I had a voice of gold. I then stopped because my granddad told me he thought there was a frog stuck in my throat. As you can tell, he is super supportive. Then came the best day of my gardening life. I had graduated to the role of water sprayer. Now, this was the big moment. I still remember him handing me this majestic machine, one finger pull mechanism, clockwise for single stream mode, a pull out and pull in feature to allow you to rapidly adjust the range. It was on this day I realized the meaning of life. So, picture me. I'm standing there, looking at this hose in my hand, this kind of, trophy in my hand. And then I look over at Big Baps just standing over there, rather vulnerably. Hose, Big Baps. The hose, Big Baps. And in my 6-year-old mind, I connected the dots and realized that there was only one thing to do. I turned to him, turned the barrel clockwise for single stream mode, pulled it out for maximum range, and squeezed the trigger. I remember him trying to get to me to take it off me, but no, he couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He was too scared of the water. I had the power. I was the Big Baps. However, all good things have to come to an end. He eventually turned the water off from the wall, grabbed me by my wrist, and took me inside for my punishment, which may have or may not have involved a slipper and my butt cheeks. He didn't really beat me. So, I hope you get the idea that my Big Baps is the classic traditional brown man. However, you might be wondering why I haven't mentioned my traditional parents. And that's because my parents' situation is much more complicated. The best way for me to describe what they go through is for you guys to just close your eyes. So everyone close your eyes, please. And imagine not being able to have an alarm clock wake you up in the morning. Imagine not being able to communicate with somebody who is literally right in front of you. And imagine not being able to speak to your own family and tell them that you love them. You can open your eyes now. Well, that's what my parents go through every single day because my mum and dad were both born without the ability of hearing and speech. My dad more so than my mum. And this is why I'm standing here today, not to tell you the crazy story of my Big Baps, but to tell you the story of my deaf mum and dad. My dad is profoundly deaf, which means he cannot hear a single thing and therefore cannot say a single word. I mean, after all, how are you supposed to speak if you've never heard speech before? My mum, on the other hand, is only partially deaf. She can still hear sounds and enjoy music, but still needs the use of a hearing aid to allow her to make out blurs of word. which is still a massive challenge for her. She can speak and hold a conversation, but it's not perfect by any standard. What my parents have gone through has been tough and soul-crushing at times. However, they persevered and overcame those challenges that nobody should ever go through. So let's start with my mum. She was born deaf because of a problem in my grandmother's pregnancy. That meant she lost the majority of her hearing. She was then sent to a normal hearing school because the government thought that it would be good for deaf kids and hearing kids to mix, because apparently the government knows everything. What it led to, instead, was my mum being severely bullied for something she couldn't control. And as a son, to hear that their own mother, as a child, was abused so harshly makes me so angry, but also so much more upset than anything. However, my mum reminds me that I shouldn't be. From her childhood experience, she learned how to be resilient and mentally strong when dealing with normal hearing people like you and I. I now can happily say that my mum is probably the most sociable person in the world with normal hearing people. And by the way, she's a lip-reading don. Whenever we're in town with her, I guarantee she will stop and we'll start talking with at least 3 different people at 3 different times, all within the space of an hour. My mum is happy. Also, I think I need to mention that she has an annoying obsession with the New Kids on the Block. The teachers will definitely know them. You know that garbage boy band from the 80s? So whenever somebody says that you need to be deaf to enjoy the New Kids on the Block, I couldn't agree more. My dad's story is a little bit different. He was born 3 months premature at the weight of only 3 pounds, which is kind of hard for me to picture because he's kind of fat now. Nevertheless, jokes aside, this man is the man who's given me everything he can possibly give me. He doesn't know what his own breath sounds like, or what his own car sounds like, and it's really hard for me to think about. But he doesn't even know what my voice sounds like. And you know what? All of that pain doesn't compare to how he was treated in his adult life. My dad used to have a job at this firm. The money he made from this job went to my brother, my mum, and I. He wouldn't even think about spending a single penny on himself. It went all to his family. My dad wanted to give his kids the ability of something he could never do himself: speak. A skill that he could never teach us himself. He used this job to pay for our nursery fees so that we could be around other hearing kids and for us to learn how to talk and not be shy and silent like the many normal kids there are from deaf parents. He was also using this money to pay for a kitchen extension for my mum because he genuinely and truly believes she deserves the best. So, I need you guys to imagine this one also. You leave home for work. You arrive at your job and the door is locked. The firm has gone bankrupt and you now have an extension to pay off worth tens of thousands of pounds with no job to pay for it. All of this debt could have been avoided if the firm would have told my dad a month ago so he knew not to purchase the extension. But no, the firm forgot to tell all the deaf people because they forgot about them entirely as people. I cannot even begin to imagine what Dad was thinking when he saw that. But what I do know is that he was thinking of his family. On this day, I just remember my mum picking my brother and I up from nursery where I just learnt my newfound skill of speaking. I remember walking into the house and seeing my whole family surrounding the living room, with worry struck across each and every one of their faces. But that wasn't the thing that scared me the most. The scariest thing I've ever seen in my life was my big Baps, the big man of the family, with his head in his hands, crying. My dad was so driven on the thought of his kids and his family that he found a job soon after that he was overqualified to do, which also paid terribly. He did that so he could put my brother and I through nursery so that we could learn how to speak and have proper opportunities in life. Opportunities that my dad would never ever get himself. Every day, my dad realizes how the world treats him for being deaf, but every day he always looks past it and always forgives. I'm happy to say that he has a proper job now and has even given my mum the kitchen of her dreams, which has even made it into the local news. And if you can't already tell, I can speak pretty well. There's always a part of me that wants to see my parents hear like normal people, and for them to hear music and the sound of my voice and my brother's voice, and for them to, just live life fully. But then I'm constantly reminded of the fact that they are who they are because of their disability. They are caring, hardworking, genuine people. In other words, they're my heroes, and literally the best mum and dad I could hope for, because everything they have suffered through has been for my brother and I. And I know they couldn't teach me how to speak or any of those things, but I couldn't care less, because they always give me the one thing that matters. They believe in me. Thank you.